you know, as expected, the biggest fear I had during treatment, it was death. It was death. And, you know, I realized that the human brain, or us humans, we all know we're gonna die. You know, we're all aware of that, but we really don't think about it. We don't, and we don't act like we know that. Like, we all have it in the back of our heads, but we're not acting as if we're gonna die one day. So getting so close to death and tasting it and realizing, like, this life will not last forever. And literally, like, who says you're gonna be alive tomorrow? Who says you're gonna be alive in an hour? It really starts to change your whole drive, your whole the whole direction you're taking. You go on a you know, now you're on a different path. You know, how do I make the most out of my life? And you start to ask yourself questions. What is happiness? You know, and what is life? And how do I make the most out of it? And does this only shoot one way, or is this the microphone, or does it pick up surroundings?
Two ways right now.
Okay.
You can do it 360, but it's going two directions. I need mine and yours. Okay. Let's start with the basics. How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
20?
Yeah.
What are you studying for? You in college? What are you studying for? Tell us about, like, your...
So as of now, I'm halfway through college. I'm a civil engineering major. Originally, I was a bio major, because I am pretty passionate about biology and anything science related. But I realized that I wasn't so passionate about the jobs related to it. You know, I wouldn't want to be a doctor or a nurse or any of that. So I went to the engineering path, and naturally I was always great at math. So yeah, I thought that was what suited me.
And you were taking college, like a program in high school that was part of college points or something like that? So
oh yeah,
2 years. Yeah.
So I got, you know, thankfully I was in a school that allowed for students to be dual enrolled. So take college courses during high school. So what I did was, at 15, I took the ACT and I qualified I got accepted into, you know, the University of Holy Cross, and I later moved on to UNO, and so that was 10th grade, and then eventually 11th and 12th grade I just went full-time college, and it was kind of sad skipping school, you know, because those years especially, everyone is, you know, coming together because they're realizing that school's coming to an end. But I think it was worth saving myself some time.
All right, cool. Okay, college, right? But you didn't have a normal high school experience.
I didn't have a normal. Well, my whole school experience was abnormal. So first of all, from pre-K to 3rd grade, I went to Muslim Academy, which the whole school consists of only like 500 students at the time. Very small school, no gym, no clubs, no teams, no, you know, nothing.
It's a developing school.
Yeah, one time.
Not nothing.
Yeah, one time a friend FaceTimed me, and he was in school, and I was like, "Oh, you're at the airport? Where are you going?" I thought he was in the airport because I never knew high schools were supposed to be that big.
Yes.
With so many people.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, what are you talking about? I'm at school. I'm just, you know, going to my locker.
Yeah.
I was like, locker?
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah.
Or that's so cool. I see that in shows.
Yeah. And for 4th and 5th grade, we went to Palestine. You know, my dad decided that we needed to be cultured and speak Arabic. So, which thankfully he did that. So, 4th grade, I transitioned to completely. Everything was Arabic. All my classes were Arabic. The only thing that I was able to catch up on was math, because it's universal.
Yes.
So
yes.
everything else was a struggle. And 5th grade was nice, and then yeah, and then we came back here for the rest of my school.
When you came back, when you say like you started doing grade school to high school, right?
Yes.
Which would you say were the toughest years of school that you?
For me, I think it was 9th grade. Yeah, 9th grade and 10th grade were the toughest. Not because of schoolwork. To be honest, I never did schoolwork. I never studied. But it was more of, I guess, just, you know, that's when my body was rapidly changing, which, you know, even the mind too. The mind was naturally changing, and I started realizing like, hey, you know what? I think I hate everyone.
Yeah.
Which actually encouraged me to get into college sooner, because I started to not like the environment. You know, people like I felt like students were putting too much effort into doing things that didn't matter. Like, you know, why are you picking on this person
Yes.
just for people to notice you? Like, there's,
Yeah.
you know, and why are
You're more aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really cool, man. Because for me to relate, it was hard for me, right? So that's really interesting to see how you saw things when you were growing up. Earlier, you told me something really cool, which was when I told you, I was like, hey, I'm really proud of the guys you hang around with. And I said that it's good to have a group of guys.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get to that point?
Definitely. So like I said, and I always say this all the time, and I encourage this to everyone, for everyone to do. At the end of the day, you know, they say that you are a reflection of who you hang out with. And it is really true. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if you hang out, if one of your friends did something terrible or does terrible things, it doesn't mean you're a terrible person. But at the end of the day, it will begin to rub off on you, you know.
Was it hard choosing those friends? Like, did you pick, okay, like, hey, I want to hang out with these guys, or how did it happen?
It was very hard for me.
Yeah?
Because, me personally, I'm very strict with friends. And there were, like, I realized I was doing a pattern where there was a certain time of the year where I'd feel like, you know, because I found new friends, and I added new friends to the group. But there would be a certain time of the year where I'd be like, I need to filter out some of these friends. And, you know, as a kid, it's funny because as a kid, I kind of get this from my mom. I always put people before myself.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Then I realized that if you want to, you know, it's vital for you to put yourself before other people, to be able to serve people well. Because if you're not serving yourself well, then eventually you'll burn out. Eventually you won't be able to keep up with serving people well.
Yes.
So that's what I did. I put myself first, and I realized that, hey, I don't owe everyone my time, and there are nice ways for me to not hang out with someone. It doesn't mean if I don't see them, I'm gonna give them a cold shoulder. I'll tell them like, hey, assalamu alaikum, how are you doing? But I'm not gonna, you know, invite them to go out every day, or you know, it's just a matter of sticking with people that make you want to do great things and make you think better and feel better.
How did you, so a typical teenager, that was in your teenage years, mid-teen years, right? 16, 17, is that what we were talking about? Like, that's when you kind of started saying...
Yes, from 17 until now.
Okay, and then would you say you had to overcome insecurities, some certain barriers within yourself that you're like, hey, or did you say, no, I know who I am, and I'm gonna have these people around me? And it's not. See, we don't want to focus too much on the people around you, because they don't make who you are. But I was really impressed by that. I just want you to tell me more. I'm trying to dig a little bit more into that mindset of mid-teenage years, of having that focus and like you kind of see and understand more.
Yes. You know, to be honest, what it really was for me, sometimes I would just feel like, and I really say this out of humbleness, like this is gonna sound terrible to say, but sometimes I'd feel like, I don't want to say I was the smartest person in the room, but I just feel like, okay, here's a better way to put it. Everyone around me had different values than I did.
Yeah. And
that's how I define people, and that's how I judge people. I judge people by what they value.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what it came to. You know, finding people with the right values. Are you wasting all your life to buy material things, or are you wasting your life to enjoy it, or spending your time to enjoy your life and enjoy yourself? So I think that's very important.
That's huge. That's amazing, man. That's actually very, very beautiful, especially at a young age, to realize that. How did you? Because we're gonna get to the real stuff. How did you? Okay. When did reality of life like really hit you?
Oh man. So You know, I really try to not make this my personality.
Yes, 100%. That's why I know.
Yeah, I try to remind myself like, hey, I don't have to tell everyone this.
Yes,
but
yes.
there, you know, there is so much that I learned from experience that I would love for the world to know about,
Yes.
and that is my experience with cancer. So in 2020, I was 18, and I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was at a part of my life where, where I basically lost everything. I lost everything. So I lost my health. You know, I lost the ability to go to gym and work out, which was my lifestyle, and I lost some friends. You know, and I couldn't work anymore, and I couldn't go to school because the type of cancer I have was pretty aggressive, so I had to go on really aggressive medication. And what I realized was all I could think about wasn't even the medicine, wasn't even the disease. All I could think about was just my past self, you know. And sometimes I would just fantasize about traveling back in time and strangling him and beating him up.
Wow.
Because before I was diagnosed with cancer, I really thought that I was miserable.
Yeah.
And I really thought that I didn't have the best life, or I didn't, you know, there were some things that was lacking, and I thought I wasn't happy. But then I realized that, you know, first of all, happiness is very deceiving, and I think that people should be taught on how to recognize happiness, because you only recognize it once it's gone. So I think it's vital for people to teach themselves to know when they're happy and when they're not.
What would you, and we touched a little bit on this earlier about material things. You comfortable? You good?
Yes.
I don't want to get out of the camera view.
Here, I could come back a little bit.
We touched a little bit on this with how you were viewing things, right? With people, like what energy you want around you. Some people wanted materialistic gain, some people this. And what would you say the definition of pleasure and the definition of happiness is? And let's start with pleasure. What do you, especially young kids, do you think, obviously material things, they chase status, like they want to be popular, what's the brand name clothing, things like that, designer, stuff like that. They chase that pleasure in life, and then you got to see at a young age true, pure happiness. It came in a very deep, dark part of your life, but you tasted pure happiness. And it's like right now you're trying to describe us what this magic, like a cake, tastes like. Nobody, you have to experience it to know what it's like. But can you do your best to explain that?
To explain what I think pleasure and happiness is?
Yeah.
So, you know, first of all, I believe that happiness is subjective to everyone. So it depends on. My happiness isn't the same as your happiness. Mm-hmm. And you know what? If you have the money, and you're in a great spot in life, and designer clothing and the materialistic things do make you happy, then I say go absolutely enjoy those things. Mm-hmm. But like I said, happiness is deceiving. Some people think that is what they like, mm-hmm. but it's not. They like that because the people around them like that, or they think that people want to see them wearing those clothes, mm-hmm. or maybe they want to, you know, higher up their status, or you know. But happiness, truly, a big part of happiness is also honesty. You have to be honest with yourself. You know, if I like, you know, for example, me, I'm interested in pickup trucks now, mm-hmm. and I never thought I would be.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, oh man, but people want to see me driving a race car.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so am I gonna go buy the race car when deep down inside me I want to buy the pickup truck?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there are people that will go buy that race car, when in reality, you know, they like the pickup truck.
So my theory, and I love when I talk about the subject because I learn more from other people. My theory, or part of philosophy, I'd say, is inward, outwardly. Okay, so when we look in the mirror and we challenge ourselves inwardly. So when, for example, the best way to beat yourself is to look at yourself and say, if I was going to beat myself today, what would my weakness be?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that. Being aware.
And then you work on that. you
Yes.
strengthen that weakness.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you work inwardly, and then it transforms outwardly, right? And I think you experienced a lot of these things. You looked inwardly and you saw, like you said, you looked.
Oh yeah.
You had to look in the past, and I think essentially kind of forgive yourself if for
Yeah.
your mindset of, hey, I thought I was unhappy, but I actually was happy, and I was.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's a matter, and I think that this is a really, really big strength. It's a matter of being aware of your own flaws. So the only way to improve as a person is to be aware of your own flaws, and is to call yourself out. Hey, you know what I did was wrong yesterday. I should not have done that, even though he cursed at me 1st, even though, for example, I shouldn't have done that myself. And when I realized that, I can't grow as a person without calling myself out and being aware of my own flaws. That's exactly what I started to do. So. I mean, honestly, this is gonna sound funny, but I think that keeping a journal it can really help with that. And I never in my life thought, and no one really knows this. I guess I'm exposing this secret about myself.
No,
yeah, I have
great.
a journal.
That's
yeah,
great.
and I've been doing it for a year now.
Yeah.
Not every day, not routinely, just whenever I realize something important or something wrong about myself. Because I noticed that sometimes you could have a realization, a really great realization, and then a year later you'll have that same realization. So what does that mean? That means I forgot about that realization. Why am I experiencing it again? So to write down these realizations, it sticks with you. You don't have to realize it twice. You realize it once, and now it's there with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can read back the journal, and you feel these feelings that you once had, and they exist there forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
and you can hold yourself accountable as well. Like if you want to do something, you're like, wow, I read this and I promised myself I'm going to get to this level, and I kind of let myself down maybe, or I don't know. That was maybe a bad example, but you know what I'm saying. Hold yourself accountable.
That's exactly what it is. And another thing is, like, when you get really good at being aware of your own flaws, you become almost immune to people's BS.
Yes.
You start to realize, like, okay, this person's mad at me, so
yeah.
This person's cursing at me, so I'm just gonna.
It's not in a bad way. It's like I did things with my good intentions. I did it to the best of my abilities. But if you know what I'm saying, it's not like you just don't care. It's really, sometimes you realize, like, hey, I did the things to my abilities, but they might be mad at me for something they have to deal with.
Yes, and
kind of.
Yeah, in a way, and also it helps. You know what it helps with, especially is separating your emotions from your logic.
Yes,
that's what it helped me
it's
a lot with. So, for example, like I said, like if someone really did something really messed up to me, me keeping that journal, me planning out what's the optimal way for me to act, what's actually important to me in this life, would make me become into a person that if someone did something really messed up to me, the first thing I would think is, okay, how do I solve this problem? Not how do I
get back or
listen to my ego and show him that so your intentions really start to change.
Okay, let's switch it up right now. What would you say? So you had physical fear happening, but yet you kept driving forward. Okay, what would you tell? Let's say you're talking to your future kid, inshallah, or your future grandkid. Okay, what would you tell them advice on any fear that they are feeling, but they have to do or move forward, or something that's beneficial or anything like that? What would you...
I love that you asked that question. So, as expected, the biggest fear I had during treatment, it was death. It was death. And I realized that the human brain, or us humans, we all know we're gonna die. We're all aware of that. but we really don't think about it. We don't, and we don't act like we
Yeah.
know that. Like we all have it in the back of our heads, but we're not acting as if we're gonna die one day.
Yeah.
So getting so close to death and tasting it and realizing like this life will not last forever. And literally like who says you're gonna be alive tomorrow? Who says you're gonna be alive in an hour? It really starts to change your whole drive, your whole the whole direction you're taking. You go on a you know, now you're on a different path. You know, how do I make the most out of my life? And you start to ask yourself questions. What is happiness? You know, and what is life? And how do I make the most out of it? And you know, and it's funny. I don't know if I should get into this, but I went through like a mini existential crisis where like I was like, you know, what is the purpose of all this? You know, the universe is so big. Would it even matter to the universe? Because if you take if you made the universe years into human years, the whole human's existence is less than a nanosecond.
Yes.
So do we even matter? But then I realized like whether we matter or don't, I exist, and I have this life, so I might as well make the most out of it. So back to my fear, the fear of death makes you fear how you spend your time, because people do say that life is short and time does fly, and I do believe that, but I also believe that you can make life long, because if you're being productive and you're doing, you know, things that matter, and you're not wasting time, you can make one day feel like 4.
Yes.
And you could get 4 days done in one day also. But putting work aside, you know, when you wake up early and you do a lot of things and you're doing, you know, things that matter, that day felt like 3 days or 2 days. So and when you're not being productive and you're doing things that don't matter, that whole week feels like an hour. So I do think that you know, spending your time is
how and I love that. I really share the same philosophy.
Yeah.
For the longest time I felt that way, but I think with age, and I love that you're this young and you this aware. It took me years to be able to put that in definition. I felt it, I don't know what I felt, but then I had to put it in definition, and then eventually reach the point where we are now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And like you said in the beginning, everybody has a journey, everybody has their own story, everybody has, I don't know if that was recorded or we talked about off mic, but with your experience, how would you, if some, okay, and giving out a message, okay, let's compartmentalize it. I mean, you're a young guy, you're not married, so your life is, right now, you're experiencing life.
Yes.
Okay? So you're experiencing it, right? You have some wisdom, you have some knowledge, but you're still exploring, you're still experiencing, right? You're not like fully settling and building foundation, all these, which is amazing. Okay, but we speak the same language.
Yes.
Okay? How would you compartmentalize, or what tools, let's say tools is better, what tools would you say somebody that wants to start, like, so let's say somebody's lost, they're in outer space and they're in their mind, they're
someone that's hit rock bottom,
or they're in no dark well or anything.
Yes.
Where do you start? What tools do you need to have? How do you
get yourself back into the
Yes, let's give people tools. So let's start picking, let's look in your backpack. You're an explorer.
Okay.
We're looking in your backpack and we're finding your tools.
So again, I like that you asked that question too, because that is something that I did experience. I hit rock bottom, and when I got off medication, I was at rock bottom, and I had to rebuild my whole foundation. I had to rebuild every single little habit, which I didn't expect that to happen. What I have learned recently, and first of all, you know, I do want to make this clear. You know, I don't know everything.
Yes, yeah,
everything that I am saying in this podcast is just from what I've experienced.
Yes,
from what I've learned.
which makes it so pure.
Yeah.
You're pure.
Yeah, yeah. But I would say, you know, I've been practicing something called the do something rule. And it sounds so simple, but it really is strong. It's when you're in a rut, for example, or you find that you have no motivation, or you find that you have no momentum going on, and you're just stuck. the do something goal. Just do something simple, whether it's taking the trash out, whether it is cleaning the dishes, whether it's something so simple. You build that momentum going. Suddenly your brain is, activated. You're like, okay, now what? Now, let me get, what else can I get my hands dirty with?
Yes.
And that's a great tool to use to.
Very good tool.
And also, this is one of the biggest things that I've learned through experience. Is take one step at a time. You got to learn how to walk before you run. So, if you're at rock bottom, don't try to get into everything at once, because you'll just collapse again. So to keep that foundation stable is to take it easy,
When does patience and consistency come into play, do you think?
Okay. Sorry. Patience. It's easier to be. You see, the thing is, it's easier to be patient once you're not at rock bottom.
Yes.
And when you are at rock bottom, what is there to be patient for?
Yeah.
And consistency, that's what you're looking for. You don't have that consistency, so you have to build that consistency. So the way to attain that would be to, like I said, in my opinion, the most effective way, method for doing it without going back to rock bottom, without collapsing again or burning yourself out. Burning yourself out is so common nowadays, especially for people my age, where they're like, I want to do school, I want to open up my own company, I want to do this, I want to do that. They burn themselves out, and they go years without, just
wasted
they
time.
Lost that ambition, they lost that fire inside of them.
Numb.
Yeah, and now they're not that person that they once were. So
can they get back?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how did they get there in the first place? One step at a time. Maybe just get back into school if you are a student.
Yeah.
And I don't think college is the only way to be a successful person. I just think there's plenty of ways. But let's say you are a student, get back into assignments. You have that momentum building up now. Now you could go into gym. Now you're doing. Now you have two things going on. Now you can get into I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Something else.
But here's another cool thing I want to dig into. Do you think it's good to look back and be like, oh, I want to be like what I used to be, or is it good to be like, hey, I want to build on what I know and become even better?
So I don't think it's. I think it's dangerous to look back sometimes, because
I agree.
Looking back, if when you look back, if you look back and you see a better person than today, yourself today, then that can put yourself down, and you could be hard on yourself now. And now that you don't have that energy going on, you don't have that fire. You're looking for a spark, where back then you had that fire going on. You're gonna want to do everything that you did at once. So like I said, you have to look at yourself in the future.
Yes.
I think would be better.
That's amazing, man.
And if you don't have motivation, then what I do see a problem with people is they have a lack of motivation, because instead of them thinking, for example, I'll use homework as an example. Instead of me thinking, oh man, I don't want to do homework, and the reason why I have to do homework is because the professor's telling me to, I could think, oh, I need to do this assignment because it will lead to a degree where I could get a job.
Yes.
So you have to.
Things you do now are going to affect your future. So
you have to make sure your perspective of why you're doing the things are in the correct place
for positive outcome.
Yes.
Eventually, and you keep working at it. So that's another tool. You just told us another tool. You slowly chip at things that are going to benefit you. It probably won't benefit today, but it'll benefit you long term.
Yes, and to have the right perception of these tasks that are important, like these tasks that you need to do, you have to make sure your perspective is right. Not again, you're not telling yourself, oh, I need to wake up at 7 for stupid work. Instead, tell yourself, oh, I need to wake up for 7 to go to work so that I could get money and use that money to maybe invest one day and become a millionaire.
It's amazing, man.
It's all about perception.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
What was something you've always wanted to tell somebody?
Ooh.
Or if you had the microphone right now and you don't know who's listening, but somebody is listening to what you're gonna say, and they're gonna really take it to heart. What you're gonna say, they're gonna take it. what would you say?
Oh man, that's I have to think about that one. You know, I think that, I mean, I just don't want to waste time, but one of the things that I would want to say to someone is what I've learned recently about happiness, you know, and gratitude. Because, you know, a great way, for example, what I've learned recently is a great way to learn about a person is to go on a trip with them.
Okay.
And, you know, I've gone on trips with people, and some people, for example, have terrible energy. Oh man, you know, we're gonna be there in 2 hours. Oh man, we need gas. Oh man, you know, it's so hot outside. Turn the AC on. Some people have great energy. Like, okay, oh, we need gas, that's fine. We'll go to the truck stop, you know, get some snacks, Gatorade.
Perceptive, perspection, we're close. We're close.
Now you got me mixed up.
Wait, we're close.
Perspective. Yes. Or perception.
Okay.
Yeah, both. So yeah, I would say that to those people that are like that, so grumpy, so have terrible energy, so toxic, I would say that you're terrible in one skill, and that skill is defining when you are happy and when you are not. Because at the end of the day, the world is what you perceive it to be. And an example, I've heard this online.
I like that.
Yeah, I've heard this online. If you are in a car and you have a flat tire and you're driving, what do you only see now? You only see mechanics. You're only looking for mechanics, and that's basically all you see, all your processing. Versus when your tire isn't flat, you know, and let's say you're hungry, now you're only seeing restaurants, you know, Chick-fil-A, Cane's, all that. So your life really is what you perceive it to be, and that's the lesson to learn to get out of that short story. If you're gonna think about everything so negatively, so pessimistically, then your life will be terrible. It will be. It will be so negative.
Stress, anxiety, all that will build up.
Yes.
Toxic feelings, emotions.
Yeah. And back to defining happiness. I know I've said this multiple times, but it's just so important because at a time where I thought I wasn't happy, and suddenly I lost everything, and I would cut a limb off just to get back to that point of my life, or to go travel back in time. I realized, if only I was taught how to define when I was happy and when I wasn't. And
explain that a little bit.
And you know, it's really tricky. Like, you know, I noticed that, for example, I'm in college right now, and I have a lot of friends that graduated, and they hated college, and for high school too, they hated high school. But now that they're graduated and they have their job, and they see me in school, they're like, you know, I miss being in college, all those good times, sitting in the library with friends, going out to eat, you know, all the lunch breaks, all that. But if only they knew while they were in lunch that they were having a great time, and they will miss it.
So be in the moment, be aware.
Yes. Be aware of the moment and enjoy it, and take your time. And I would also, you know, I also noticed that there's that pattern in life where, you know, you're in elementary school, then you go to high school, you're like, oh, I miss elementary school. Then you go to middle school, you go to college.
Those were the good days, or that was...
Those were the good days. And then, you know, 4 years go by, those were the good days. And it's a pattern. So you really gotta, you know, once you realize that, you really gotta put yourself in place and be like, you know what, I'm gonna miss this time with you sitting down.
I go home sometimes, and I see my family, like they're sleeping, my daughter's sleeping for school and stuff. Yeah. And I give them a kiss, and I say, Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I just say, well, alhamdulillah. Like, this is what I'm working for, and I'm here right now, you know. And I think probably a year or year and a half I've been doing that, just where I am. Sometimes I even catch myself drifting, and then I'm like, no, be in the moment, and I'm grounded.
And what's happened to your happiness?
How pure. I'm in the moment where I am. I'm soaking as much as I can of the energy, and it even goes back to having the right people around you, like allowing the right atmosphere. Like sometimes, I mean, this is weird, but sometimes I see myself going in atmospheres I'm not comfortable, or even those people in that atmosphere aren't sharing good energy. I get out of it because I don't want to waste my time in the atmosphere. I want to be around positive thinkers where we share the right energy, and maybe we have different goals, but we're still gonna eventually, we're gonna give off good advice. So like right now, we're speaking the same language but two different lifestyles.
Yeah.
But we're speaking the same language.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna wake up and do something. I'm gonna wake up and do something.
Yeah.
So we can sit for hours and discuss and talk, just talk. But we can learn from each other.
Of course.
You know, man, I was gonna end it on a good note, but it was really good. Yes. From your experience mixing with people, all these things, 2 questions. Do you think there's majority of good than bad in this world? That's number 1. And then
in people?
Just in general of the people you've interacted with. Do you think there's more good than bad or more bad than good? And then also, to follow that up, do you think the people that are struggled can be taught, or is there's people that are just fully lost?
Okay. So, the first question, do I think that there's more good than bad people? I would say that, first of all, I don't know, because that's part of the reason why I love traveling myself, is because you meet new people with different culture, with different lifestyles, so different, and different perspectives of things. But you know what I will say? I would say that people, at least in this country, people do underestimate the amount of good people there are. You just gotta find them, because sometimes you feel like, man, I just hate everyone, or everyone's terrible, or everyone wants what's just best for them.
Yeah.
But there truly are great people with great hearts, and sometimes we like to think to ourselves that there aren't many of them, but I think that there are many of them.
I agree.
And especially going to foreign countries, for example, but even in this country, but going to foreign countries where they literally have nothing, and where they really humble you.
Yeah.
You realize these are great, amazing people.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was your second question?
Do you think the people that you see that are lost, or you interact with the people, do you think they can? Do they have hope? Can you touch it? Do they have hopes if they're given the right tools?
Yeah, if given the right tools. So what it all comes
If
down
somebody
to,
listens to right now and takes your advice and uses it, do you think?
If they take my advice, I think they do have hope. And that the reason for that is, some people don't have hope, because for you to be able to change and become a better person, you have to be able to point at yourself and say, these are my flaws, what I did was wrong, this was wrong.
Forgive. And so yourself.
Yes.
Or others sometimes.
It all boils down.
Even without them knowing, you got to forgive others maybe sometimes.
Plus, they have to be willing to accept help. If you're not willing to accept help, then you will never be helped.
Wow,
even if you have the best helper in the world.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I think.
Good stuff, man. Anything you want to say? Go ahead. Mic's yours.
Yeah, I think that's. I wish I could think of something.
I could ask a couple more, but I think we left it on a good note. Yeah. Man, what are we capping on? 30 minutes?
Was that really 30 minutes?
Feels like it. Yeah, 33, 38, almost 40 minutes.
Wow.
Almost 40 minutes.
That felt like 2 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, we communicate pretty good.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, I'm great.
Yeah?